Well, now let me turn to Martin Brechbiel, MMR.
Pick up where we left off last week, where we were building one of these things. And I say things because it's sort of a caboose, but it sort of isn't. But it's interesting nonetheless, a unique piece. And last week, well, we had a floor and a base with a brake system. We had two sides. We had a roof ready to go, sort of, maybe. Two ends that weren't quite ready, but just need to put it all together anyhow. One thing I neglected to mention was I actually cut out behind this big white metal casting, and that's so you can go get in there and glaze that bay window. Otherwise, it looks kind of silly. So, hey, you're just building a box. You just glue it together. That's easier said than done. It takes a number of clamps, throwing this all together, and as I say, you can never have too many clamps. Well, it's generally true, and it took a few extra that I didn't plan on using to get this all together. And doorways were cut open. This is 16th-inch scribe siding, so they don't split generally as a rule very easily. When you get down to the 32nd, it can be problematic. But this is all open and glued up through some reinforcing squares into the corners, and also at the base to set that end against on each end. And these are opened up from behind. You can see it's opened up. That's a little tricky because there's really not that much room in this casting. It looks like it's thick and heavy. Well, it's heavy, but it's not that thick around the edges. There's not much room tolerance around this. So there's a thin bead of goo and some CA behind this. That's what holds it in place, but it can be glazed from the inside. It's a little tricky. If I'd thought this through better, I would have done this somewhat differently, but this is the way it came out. So pre-paint those pieces and then glaze them once it's assembled. So this is where I would have maybe done things differently, was to maybe pre-paint them, glaze them, and then glue them in place. But okay, so it's open from the top. You can still do it. It takes a little bit of manipulation and some patience and some colorful language and some 3 pairs of tweezers, getting your acetate around the corners. And there's actually 3 pieces of acetate in here, but so much. For that, it's pretty easy to do. But it's primed with the finished color and glazed. A little bit of styrene up here for the door runner and some trim work. The roof drops into place, and there's a little piece of a little piece of scribe siding underneath here, under the roof. So it's just not raw wood there. And as foreshadowed in that photo, okay, got to build the ends. The ends are a little complicated, or maybe not so complicated. So I guess it depends on your definition of complicated. First thing you have to do is paint this door, and it was glazed and it's in place. A little piece of header over the top of it, a little piece of trim here. These grab railings behind the end railing, they have to be put in. This corner post here is actually drilled and soldered into the other piece on both sides. Once that's done, now we can put this piece of styrene channel in place, and we can build up the ends. This is just an old brass all-nation ladder, cut down fit, soldered to a little bit of flat at the bottom, a couple of holes drilled in it for some wire, kept the holes at the top from the original ladder. I was over in my workshop, over in the one cabinet, are vials full of all the little nails that the old kits used to supply. Which I don't usually nail things together using those little tiny nails, but I don't throw them away either, because when you need 2 of them, here's where they go, right here. There's 2 at this end and 2 at the other end. And this is glued in place with some goo and CA. It's actually drilled with a pilot hole, and the nails got a drop of CA on it, pushed right into the hole, It's not coming back out. This is, these are two brass channels. This is a brass casting from Bob Raza, finishing, custom finishing parts. White metal wheel from who knows where. I've got one at each end. This brass casting, a little bit of, just a little bit of filing, and a little bit of sanding, fits inside these two pieces of brass channel. Solder the two pieces of channel to each side. That gets soldered to this base plate. Another piece of channel. One end is channel, the other end it's box. I ran out of channel. You can't really tell it's not channel at the other end. Drill holes through here, wrap it around, another hole in the bottom, some phosphor bronze wire, a little bit of solder, and it's all together. Glue it in place. The ends are done. Well, almost done. Close to done. Sort of done. There's some other stuff that goes down here. But these were kind of fun to put together, a little tricky, but hemostats, clamps, and good flux and a little torch, and things go together pretty well. And okay, this wasn't done with a torch back here. This is actually one of those rare occasions where I actually used a soldering iron. It happens. I have to use the soldering iron now and then. I'm not good enough to not burn wood with a torch. It's kind of hard to avoid. Okay, well, everything's soldered together. We got all the door supports here at the bottom. These are just precision scale parts. Just a hole drilled, dip it in CA and shove it in a hole. Easy enough. These are just pieces of phosphor bronze, 25 thousandths. Bend one end, curl it. Curling's interesting because I'm actually using 3 different pieces of tubing to get that curl just to where I want it to be. Basically, it's a glass vial and a piece of pipe, and then it's down to a piece of copper tubing, plumbing tubing, just enough to get the curl in, and fairly consistently. Drill a hole, shove it in the hole with some CA. It's done. Okay, so just back to the end for one more try. See some of the roof, and we've got a lot of the roof walk on place. These are just Grant Line parts, and there's a new piece of all roof ribs are on there too now, and it's got a little bit of paint on the sides and ends. The roof is painted dark lark gray, SP lark gray. This is just the first coat because I can see where I missed some spots. So this must have been the first coat. So, you paint it all the way around 2-3 times, just polyscale Boxcar red. I killed an entire bottle of Boxcar red, or what was left of one of my Boxcar red bottles of polyscale. It's getting harder and harder to find some of that stuff. I could not find any at Harrisburg on Friday. Very disappointed. There's the roof. So we've got roof ribs. It's got a whole new scribed section from one end to the other. Roof ribs, roof walk supports. It's all set for the roof walk. And these pieces aren't on here yet because it's a lot easier to paint this without those pieces that usually go at the corners. Okay, we're going to fast forward right to the finish line because sometimes I forget to take photos because I'm just like, okay, the finish line's over there. Get there now. Stop goofing around with the camera. Just get done. And we got done. So got a roof stack. It's old Traincraft white metal casting. We drill this out with, I don't know, a 42 or something. Whoop. Come back here. Whatever drill and clear that out. These are just pre-painted scribe siding dropped into place. Some roof walk that was pre-painted and dropped into place. We've got air hoses added to the end. We've got a coupler on each end. There's some grab irons. These were problematic. These were precision scale grab irons, but they're the styrene ones. I don't know if anybody else has had any good luck with those. Let me know, because every time I tried to cut them free from the sprue, they broke in 2. So figuring out how to reassemble the grab irons with methyl ethyl ketone once they're put into the holes is kind of that's a good cause for a strong drink. Got Andrew's leaf spring trucks. They're old low bow trucks, cast bronze. The Bronze Age returns, but they'll roll forever. They've already outlasted most of us. They'll outlast the rest of us. They just keep going. And decals, I actually found Missouri Pacific Lines decals. These are actually for a boxcar. Fancy that. It's a boxcar converted into a bay window caboose thing. So I didn't use very much of the actual boxcar decal, but K4 sells these. So it was pretty much just what I needed. So I have enough left over to actually do a Missouri Pacific boxcar if I really wanted to. I have no idea why I would want to. It would have to be a suitably strange car to get my attention. And there's the ends painted up, and you can see the grab irons, the air hose, and I had to cut a notch out of that styrene channel on the end, which isn't all that hard to do. Just flip it over and razor saw, and then connect the two lines together with a scalpel. Pops right out. And that's all we're doing. That car's done. On to the next, whatever it is I'm doing next, because right now I have no idea what's next week. So any questions? Now's the time to scream them out.
Yeah, Martin, I have a question. You pre-painted the metal parts that you had glued on. I guess you used a brush for that. Did you paint almost the entire car or the entire car with a brush?
Yeah, actually I did. With a brush. Two of them. Two different brushes. Not just one. One big one, one small one.
I know sometimes when the weather's good, you go outside and spray paint cars. Did you use a brush on this because you had to pre-paint part of it?
Yeah, and also because I didn't have any boxcar red in a sprayable form. Unless I, take the compressor outside, fire up the airbrush, fire up the flow quill, it's just, and then I've got to mask all the glazing. I was trying to avoid having to mask anything. So,
That's a good looking car, Martin. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay.